Hi, I'm just here talking about The Bachelor tonight. It was the Women Tell All, so we've got a lot of drama to talk about. Most of it is just a recap because you already know what's going on in the season, but there were a couple new things that they talked about in this episode. So yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so the most tantalizing people were Claire, the girl who in the beginning was like, nah, I don't want to date Clayton, and she ditched out. And then Cassidy, it just recaps like the birthday party fiasco where she just snuck off and made out with Clayton, and her little moment where she was talking about her side piece guy that she kept on the hook while she was on the show. And then Shanae, of course, and then just horrible clips, multiple clips of Shanae just being an idiot. So Sierra was very vocal this entire Women Tell All. It was basically her Women Tell All. And at first I liked it, and I was like, okay. But anyway, she had a couple like good moments. And yeah, anyway, she was just saying to Shanae that she is a fake ass bitch and all this stuff. And everybody else had some horrible things to say about Shanae. That she is the worst person that they've ever met. Worst human being they've ever met. And a bunch of stuff that is totally accurate because Shanae is a piece of crap. And we all know that, but it just gets kind of old because you hear it over and over and over, and just some of the things that people are saying, you're like, oh my god, like, can we move on from Shanae? Can we just forget about her? Can she just be dead in Bachelor history? And she's not. She gets to be up on the stand, and she gets to be talked to for like 10 minutes, and it's just so lovely. Yeah, and so before that though, they talk about that Cassidy has her moment where she gets to talk about like, she basically says that she doesn't think it was wrong what she did, keeping that guy on the hook and everybody, and she thinks that it's because she was sleeping with somebody before, and everybody's like, no, honey, it's because you kept him on the hook while you were on the show and you weren't willing to like break up with him. And she was like, I quote, "That dick was so good I wasn't going to give it up for someone I have never heard talk." So I was just kind of like, whoa. And yeah, the whole crowd was like, whoa. And yeah, so I feel like she did a decent job at defending herself, and especially standing next to Shanae. She doesn't look like that horrible of a person. So yeah, and then somebody said something along the lines of like, I think the biggest thing you messed up on, Cassidy, was creating this Frankenstein of a character of Shanae and encouraging her. And I think it was Kate that said that, but anyway, I was like that's a good point. That's mostly why I don't like Cassidy, is because she really like laid the groundwork for Shanae to be such a cunt. And I just, oh my gosh, I just can't even with her. So basically Shanae is in the hot seat because she can't get a word in because everybody's yelling at her, screaming at her. It's just everybody's like freaking out. And you can't hear anything that she's saying. So Jesse brings her up to the hot seat. And I made a note, everyone hates her, like with passion, fuming. And yeah, and it's just Shrimpgate all over again. And Elizabeth talks about a little bit about how Shanae and her only knew each other for one day. And I didn't really realize the timeline of this, but Shanae's, what she says happened with Elizabeth. She says that it was night and day, and one day she was friends with her and the next day she wasn't. And Elizabeth was like, literally, the first day I had one conversation with you and it was with 6 other women. And then I moved on to the next conversations. Like, I hardly even remembered you. So she was like, I don't get where this obsession came from with me, but like, we never like even had a feud to begin with. Like, you invented me in your mind as this person that like to blame your problems on, essentially. And I totally believe that, because she just wanted, I think she just wanted somebody to hate and to blame that she wasn't doing very good on for her own emotional support. She wanted somebody to like dig on to make herself feel better, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, okay, and then the Genevieve is so expressive, and I love it so much. She just like cannot stand Shanae, and you can just tell like she's like at her wit's end with it. And so Genevieve says this amazing line that I quoted. She said, "You compared yourself to Meryl Streep, and then you called me an actress." So like, what the fuck, Shanae? Like, how does that make any sense? Like, she's so contradictive, so dumb, and it's just like, I just remember looking at Genevieve, and she was just like, like, I know, I'm like, I feel you, that's exactly how I feel, like, what, so baffled by this stupidness, and Shanae just does not feel any remorse, doesn't care, just like, not even, like, she just, no emotion, and it's just like really like, ooh, scary. It's like there's people like that out there that are just like so cold and calculated and mean. It's just like, oh no. And then at the end of so they bring Genevieve up to the hot seat too, so that's both of them sitting there right there, and it's just like, oh my god, they're gonna punch each other or something. And at the end, Genevieve says, "Thank God he didn't keep you. He would have watched it back and have been so disappointed. Thank God." And she said thank God like 5 times. And I was just like, okay, now can we move on? So the first hour was like basically like, Shanae, let's get over it. Let's move on. Thank you. And then the next hour is all about the girls who made it pretty far. So we have Sarah, who she's the one that was really performative, and Clayton just didn't believe her, that he was like, I feel like you just cried those tears to me and they were fake tears, because she stopped crying right after. And I guess she was telling the girls that that Clayton and her cried together and all this stuff, and that they had such a strong connection, and that she was really using it as a weapon and a tactic to try and make people feel so miserable that they wanted to leave. And that's really why Clayton sent her home, is because he figured it out and saw through it. And yeah, and she still stands by the statement that Clayton cried. So yeah. So moving on. So the girls are like, okay, we'll ask Clayton later when he gets here. And so anyway, so then they move on to Teddy. And I wrote down, Teddy is so lovable and kind and great, and I really like her out of everyone in the show. And she got the first impression rose, so it kind of makes me think, like, maybe she could be the next Bachelorette. Like, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Anyway, when she was in the limo ride, it showed her, like, she got to watch it back, and she just, like, lost it and was crying. And there's just a part where she was like, she feels worthy of love, but she is always coming up short. And that was just a really hard thing for her to talk about. And then she talked a little bit of backstory to it, like that she has problems with her dad. And then at the end, they have a little moment where she, like, has something to tell, and she's like, yeah, Clayton's brother did reach out to me. and like in like a romantic way, and she's like, I think I've had one too many Eggerts in my life. Serene feels like she gave it her everything, and that she put it all out there. She didn't want to leave anything unsaid, so she told him that she was in love with him and everything like that. Clayton did say to her, like looking back, he did say to her that it wasn't anything that she did, and he just had deeper connections with the other girls, and so deep down she feels like she's not enough, and she is just really heartbroken about it. And it plays back the moments when she was at Hometowns, and her brother was talking about how he's so scared for her and he doesn't want her to go back to hard times, and he's not wrong. It's really sad because she did kind of like go. I guess that's just how she is. She just goes all the way without any reservations, and like she's not scared. And anyway, that's just a hard one. Clayton is next. Yeah, Clayton is up, and Jesse can't even finish his goddamn sentence before Sierra asks a question over him. And shit like that just pisses me off. Like, let the goddamn host of the show ask the questions. Like, is this the Sierra show? No, it's not. I know you feel some type of way. And then she goes on to say like that he's not ready for love and all this stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, girl, just, I don't know, that's probably an unpopular opinion, but she was bugging me. I was like, what? Shut up, nobody cares, like, stop. I want to hear what Jesse has to say. So basically, Clayton addresses that Shanae is the worst thing that could have happened, that trusting her is the worst thing that could have happened the entire show, and he regrets it, and that he couldn't see through it faster. And then later on he reveals that it made him question himself and other people in a very negative way, so it really affected him. And then he confirms that he did not cry with Sarah, so there's that. Sarah's a liar, and using it for her own tactics to get ahead, I guess. He apologizes to Serene for making her feel like she's not enough, and he never wants to do that to a woman again, ever. Yeah, anyway, and then there's bloopers, which are pretty funny, and then they do bloopers of Jesse the host in his season, and they're pretty funny too. So the teaser for the next episode tomorrow is that he falls in love with 3 of the women. He literally says, I'm in love with you, to all 3 of them. Freaking Sierra like interrupts again, and with some really rude question, and yeah, and then Teddy speaks up and is like, well, you know, I do know a couple things, and I just want to say I hope that you're okay. So from the looks of it, it doesn't turn out good. I don't think he ends up with anyone. I think everybody leaves. So we'll see. It's going to be a whirlwind tomorrow. It starts at 7, so be prepared. I think it's a 2-hour episode. It's Fantasy Suites. So join me, and we will talk about it tomorrow night. Okay, bye.